Hello, and welcome back to Black Tie Lounge, where we love to discuss all things VT Asset Hub. Tonight, I am absolutely rapt to have co-founder and director of Hashlock, Fletcher, on board. Hi, Fletcher.
Hello, Caroline, and hello, everyone. Good to be on
Hello,
here.
welcome back to the land of the living here in Oz. I hear you've been at Token 29 in Dubai.
I have, yes, it's been a very busy year so far, and Dubai was also very hectic. So it is very good to be home. Thank you.
Awesome. What was it like out there? So obviously it's a whole different world, though, the way they do their crypto conventions.
Yeah, it's our second. It was our second time at Token 2049. And sorry, at the Dubai one, because we also go
Yeah.
to the Singapore one. It's probably our favorite conference of the year, I would say. It's huge. The side events were insane. We had a side event, and there was like 400 other side events,
Wow.
and there was heaps of leads. We made a goal with our team of how many leads we wanted to get, so that we can help as many clients as possible, and we smashed that goal. And it was also really good to just catch up with the team because our
Yeah.
team's distributed across the world, and we all got to come together and hang out and have fun. And some of the team I hadn't even met in person before.
Wow.
So that was really fun, and it was just really good to do that. It's crazy though. You're kind of working from the moment you're awake to the moment you go to sleep. So very tiring, and I definitely had a bit of jet lag after it.
All worth it, though. For
Abs-
those of you who don't know, Hashlock is a expert team of smart contract auditors. And I guess, for us, when we started looking at who would be our smart contract audit partner for the BT Asset Hub, we had a fair few choices. We had obviously done a lot of audits for other projects. But we really looked at, this is a major Australian project, and we wanted to, partner with a Australian firm that were experts in their field, but also had global experience to keep expanding with us. So for the audience, that's why we chose Hashlock. So Hashlock has now audited the contracts for our existing 3 assets. They've audited our bridge contract, which is super important. And obviously, we've been really happy with their work. The teams, both Hashlock's teams and our teams, I think have learnt over the last probably 2 or 3 months to each other's nuances, how they get through the audits, so we can really make sure that we've done the right thing. And I think Fletcher will deep dive a little bit tonight on what it means to have that audit, and why it's so important to find the right audit partner. Because inevitably we're all trying to make sure nothing goes wrong and do the right thing. So choosing the right audit partner is really a critical part of when we choose our partners. So just filling everybody in, and maybe this is a good time, Fletcher, for you to let us know a bit about Hashlock and its journey, and that will sort of put things, I think, a bit in the perspective of, I guess, why we as a team think Hashlock is our perfect partner.
Oh, absolutely. I can certainly do that. Yeah. So indeed, so Hashlock started in Australia, and myself and the other co-founder are based in Australia. And it's 3 years old this month. Hashlock is, which is really cool.
Congrats.
Thank
Yeah.
you very much. We started because we realized that there wasn't a smart contract auditing firm, a dedicated smart contract auditing firm in Australia that just did cybersecurity for Web3, that didn't do development, that was independent. So we saw that gap, and so we started Hashlock. And we found that need was quite popular, and we had a bunch of success in the Australian market very quickly. We probably in less than a year, just under a year, we had most of the major Australian projects of the time in sort of 2022. And yeah, so some of those are Red Belly Network, Fluidity Money, Verita. Those are some of the pretty big Australian projects of the time, and they're all still around. We started by going to conferences and doing that sort of thing. We also picked up a bit of institutional work and education style work with like universities and large research style projects that the government was putting out and whatnot. And so a lot of early success. And then from there, we had a really good reputation as the Australian team that was doing really good work. And then all of a sudden, when we took that globally and we did our global expansion, it was very successful as well. Now, fast forward to nearly halfway through 2025, which is quite insane to say that that's how far in we are.
Yeah.
We are one of the most prominent Web3 cybersecurity firms that there are in the entire industry. We're definitely one of the fastest growing because all of the ones that are of our size at this point are more like 6 or 7 or 8 years old. And we're the youngest among our peers of our size. And we've never had a hack, which is a huge track record to have. Most auditing firms, even the good ones, have had at least a few. We haven't. Have done hundreds of audits at this stage, secured across all of our clients. The community value on there is in the billions. And we have built a really cool team. And so, we definitely love our partnerships and working with teams like Black Tie that actually want to, build something long term and they care about security and doing things the right way. We value that the whole way through, and that's how we've got to where we are now. That's kind of a bit of a summary for you. I'm not sure if you want to ask any deeper questions, but that's kind of where we're at the moment.
Yeah, that's pretty good. So how many in the team? And you mentioned they're spread across the world, which I think is pretty much standard now in the Web3 space.
Oh yeah, it's a cool way of working, isn't it? Getting to
we
wouldn't have got
thank
to
you,
do
COVID.
Actually, literally, I'm a massive fan of working from home too. So thank you, COVID. So we have 10 full-timers that aren't in the auditing team, just working on sales, project management, whatnot. And then the auditing team makes up the bulk of it. So in terms of the auditors, we have a lot of them work on a audit basis with us in our auditing squad. So at any given time, more like 15 to 30 if we're busy auditors working. Depending on the time of year, quite significant, especially in that security auditing squad team.
I'll ask you a few questions about what's happening in the future, because I think, it's definitely a major, major ramp up at the moment. But one of the things I wanted to just ask, I guess, for the audience, what are the most common, vulnerabilities that the team's looking for in these contracts? I mean, obviously we know that, there's hacks, but how do you keep on top of these hackers to make sure that, what you are doing is secure, and it will be securer in the next 5 years?
It's a really good question. So I think the difference with Web3 security and traditional cybersecurity is that you can run your Web3 code through all of the standard tools and all the standard checks, and it comes up completely clean. But it still has a vulnerability flaw, because the way the smart contracts work, they're code, but they're also economic instructions. So if someone can come along and everything seems to be written right, but they can find an economic exploit, something wrong in the economic design or the game theory, they can just exploit that over and over again and manipulate it to extract value. So oftentimes, the very high vulnerabilities, the ones that will drain your protocol and you lose all your money, those aren't ones that are common. They're usually unique to your protocol and how you've designed it, that aren't in any, that you're not going to find elsewhere. For example, you guys have built your smart contracts in a certain way, so you could have a vulnerability. Of course you don't, because we've checked for it. As best as I can say in it right now. But you're going to have vulnerabilities that are different than anyone else's code's going to have vulnerabilities. So that's kind of what I would say about that. Now, the way that we find them is, of course, we still run them through a bunch of tools and tests that are standardized. But the big things that we find is our security team actually has to read through smart contracts line by line. and they put it up against any documentation that you have and the goals of your project, and they try to think what's exploitable here, and they actually have to find what's unique to this protocol, and where could this go wrong, and then they have to prove it. And that's how we do it. So usually they're quite complicated, and it takes a lot more time than traditional cybersecurity. But the risk, in traditional cybersecurity, it might be a bit of data, or usually there's a lot of layers between actual money. But in Web3, because it's your smart contracts and they're on the blockchain, if someone can crack it, you'll wake up tomorrow and there'll be no money in there. So the risk is a lot higher, but with that risk, you get all the benefits of Web3, being able to, all of the global trade benefits, all of the benefits of, atomic settlement, all of the speed, all of the, having an immutable ledger, all those sorts of things. So, that's what I would probably say about Web3 vulnerabilities.
So keeping in mind, on that basis, that is fairly complex work. Where do these guys get educated to do this work? Because I'm sure they're not teaching this at uni, right?
They're definitely not. Now, this is a comment on what I think is a problem with most Web3 security companies, is they'll hire traditional cybersecurity people to do the work, and you can't really do that because of the risk. You've got to have a specialist. So what we do is we take people to join our team, our auditing team, from community auditing platforms. That could be a community bug bounty platform, a community security research platform, other auditing firms, all those sorts of things. So we know they have experience in Web3 security. Now, where did they get educated before that? Typically, they probably did do a Web2 cybersecurity degree at university, or some sort of research. But then the best ones have, in their own time, in their own spare time, because you can't learn it in uni very much. They've looked into all the white papers, they've done all the research, they've done all of the online learning, and they've trained themselves up. So usually, it's a highly skilled Web2 cybersecurity person who's done personal development, and then they've showed some experience, and then that's when they get selected by a team like Hashlock.
Yeah, tough, isn't it? You actually got a job that you got to apply for, but there is no way to fully educate yourself. So, and I think that's one of the things, obviously, in the new culture, right? You've got to take on a lot of self-driven extra workload versus what you used to be able to do with a job, right? Just go to uni, then come out and ask for a job. I don't think that happens much anymore.
No, absolutely. So, we've very rarely asked to see a uni certificate, but the community's built a lot of infrastructure around it. So there's a lot of trusted platforms that you can go and learn how to be a Web3 security auditor. And if someone brings us, documents from those and say, hey, I've completed all of these courses online, and I've done these bug bounty competitions, and I've done all the initial stuff, we look at that, we're like, oh, that's amazing, and we'll trust that you actually know what you're talking about.
And I guess that brings us, I think it's a good segue into compliance. The compliance. So, we actually have no compliance around what we do that says we must audit our smart contracts. So that might be a bit an amazing thing for people, but it is really a choice of us to do that. Now, we make that choice because obviously we want to protect everything that we've built. We want to protect our asset managers, our assets. We want to protect the people that participate on our platform. So it is something that is voluntary. But, where do you fit in the compliance landscape, or how do you see this is going to start rolling out? Is there going to be, you must have a Hashlock stamp to be certified in Australia? Do you hope that comes soon, or what do you think about it all?
Well, the risk definitely warrants it. Your smart contracts are your highest risk infrastructure that you have, because it's literally people can see your smart contracts on the public blockchain, and they can also see how much money is in them. This is all public, and it's an invitation saying, if you can crack this, all of this value is yours. Now, if it's been well audited, that code is unchangeable once it's on the blockchain, and you're very, very secure. But if it hasn't been audited, and your developer was just going quickly and didn't see something, then you're in big trouble. So the risk warrants it. So the way that the industry currently does it is it's a community expectation. So especially in the very in the projects that are marketing to a Web3 audience, especially if you don't have an audit by a good firm, then the community will question you. Now, you're one of the really cool projects that's bringing Web3 to the entire industry, to outside industries. So maybe you don't have the expectation from your direct market, but you still have the risk there. So yeah, the way the industry does it is brand, essentially, right now. So you can't just go get Joe Blow audits to do it. You really want to be getting usually like a top 10 security auditing brand name to say that we have stamped on this, that this is good, and then you can be trusted. But Hashlock has been a part of a lot of regulatory conversations. We definitely engage with all that, and I think eventually it will become a standard that you have to have security audits from a firm like Hashlock for sure, and that'll solve a lot of issues and help adoption massively.
Absolutely. It's sort of amazing. I mean, for us, it's just to know, it's not even a question. We've been building the Web3 space for a long time, so we understand the community expectations. But it's something that it's just so critical. You can't really explain it, is it? It's like what you wouldn't even bother to go to the market or build this if you weren't going to make sure you're taking the correct security measures. Now, one of the other things I was really keen to talk to you a little bit about is how do I guess the emerging technologies and AI, how much are they disrupting what can or can't be done in the smart contract audit process? Like, are you going to be able to shortly, or you might be doing it now, doing an AI sweep first to get rid of all the nitty gritty that was probably pretty obvious, save your developers, your auditors some time, and then that alleviates the maybe of 8 hours of work that is the basic stuff, and now they can concentrate on the most important. Is that being integrated already?
The way that I look at it is AI scares me because I think what it will actually do is it won't just make us better, it'll make the attackers far better. So whilst yes, in one sense you could say it's going to make our job easier, it's also going to make our job a lot harder because at the start of the blockchain technology revolution, hackers would have to manually think about the code and think, how can I break this? More and more so now, a hacker can put smart contracts into an AI system, or even just let an AI system run through the blockchain and say, find whatever's hackable and hack. So efficiency will go up, and people will be heavily armed. I don't know how that plays out in the long term, because if AI grows exponentially, there are a lot of vulnerable code out there that just sits there and just doesn't get found. But when AI can start just scouring the internet, you're in a lot of trouble. So I think we'll have a more responsibility to do an even better job. So we'll probably, if you look in 5 years from now, I think we'll be using all of the AI tools. Hopefully we'll have some of our own AI tools. But you're going to have to do a lot more work to protect hackers. It's like they've got a nuclear bomb. Sorry to use a terrible analogy. They've got a nuclear bomb, so we just, to protect the client, have to be armed with one too. And that's, so they have AI, we have to have AI. We're not using it massively just yet. The problem is the way that AI is built is really good for existing vulnerabilities, but not for those unique ones that I explained. And also the size of your smart contract repo is like multiple files big. It's hard for AI to look at all of that and to look at your documentation, figure out the game theory of it, and do all of those steps at once. It's a little bit much at the moment. So yeah, that's kind of where AI sits at the moment.
Yeah, that is scary. I'm going to say it's pretty scary.
Yeah.
And it will be very, very interesting times, as you've mentioned. Well, you would assume that AI is already sweeping the web looking for vulnerabilities.
Even just generally in the world, not to be too negative, I think AI in the cyber landscape, it creates a scary proposition because you kind of hackers are heavily armed. I think there's going to have to be some sort of limiting factor that gets put out around AI, because if it grows exponentially, then it becomes very scary.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, one of the things we talked about with the smart contracts, and I guess, are there any good examples that you can sort of, mention to the audience about, I guess audits that didn't quite go right, or audits that people didn't take, and what were sort of the repercussions of some of the things? Are there any? I
Yeah.
mean, I'm sure we all know the top five, but feel free to run through a few just for the audience.
Yeah, of course. We've worked with hundreds of clients at this stage. We even have hundreds of audits that you can just look at publicly on hashlock.com. And we've seen everything. We've seen the best of the best and the worst of the worst and all of the nightmare cases. Luckily, we've never had a project go live and then get hacked. The way, just for everyone in the audience, the way the Hashlock works is we'll do an initial audit for the client, and we'll usually find some things to fix. Then we'll work with their team to fix them, and then we'll do a revision report, like a final report. That's all included in the one engagement, unless there's like additional things added on or whatever.
Yep.
And then you get your final report. So hopefully the idea is, usually we'll find things in the first, sometimes we'll find some more things in the second review. But by the time that we've been through everything, you should be good to go. But we've had cases where sus clients try to send us, try to hack into us by sending us bad zip files.
Wow.
We've had people try to argue with us that something's not a vulnerability and try to launch vulnerable code. We've had to come in for clients after they've been hacked. That's a lot of the time, that's how we get our work, is
Yep.
a protocol will go live. They'll get maybe a few $1 million on their protocol, maybe. They'll get hacked. They'll lose a lot of it. Maybe they get some back through the hacker giving it back or whatever. And then they'll be like, oh my goodness, Hashlock, this just happened. We're trying to launch again. Can you audit us this time?
Yep.
And so we've seen it all. The other thing is we work with some of the most corporate clients ever, and we work with some of the most Web3 native Twitter project style clients ever as well, like the most like quote unquote degen.
Yeah.
So yeah, we really have seen it all. It's quite interesting.
I bet. That reverse hacking of you guys must have been fun.
Yeah, well, it didn't get through, thank God.
Yeah,
It's
thank God.
yeah, it's scary, but you get that after 3 years of working in security.
Absolutely. Now, just going to take you back when you were looking at first, obviously looking at our asset hub. I guess, we're dealing in large scale assets. There's going to be, in most of the assets, so the smart contracts that you have audited, they're scheduled to hold about 6 billion in asset value. So they're major contracts. What was some of the, I guess, risk mitigation that Hashlock, looked at when they were doing our contracts?
Yeah, cool. First of all, your team, your development team, and just your team in general, were really good to work with. So one of the massive red flags that can happen is that when a client comes through, we're a little bit suspicious of their developers. Here's a stat for you. I don't know the exact stat, so maybe it's not a statistic, but a large portion of hacks that happen in Web3 are backdoors created by internal team members. That happens a lot, and you'll be surprised because it doesn't have to be the main person that you're talking to. But if one junior who has all the logins who started 2 weeks ago logs into your project on their project management software and looks at everything, they can edit one line of code, you know?
Yep.
Even
Leave
if
themselves backdoor.
even if everyone that you've been talking to sounds good and they'd never do that. So your team was awesome from the start. So we were happy with that. We're very happy with that. Then we have to run through all of the standard industry standard checks on your smart contracts, all of the tools that we run. Then we go into sort of our IP. So we go through what we as Hashlock deem as the most high risk areas to look at. Any methodologies that our auditors have. And then you really get into the line by line analysis. So by the time that we've been through even just the first round, we've done a lot of different risk mitigations on your code to make sure that you're secure. We also had to make sure we understand what you're trying to achieve from a business perspective. Because like I said, the code can seem fine, but if it's different to what you're trying to do from a business perspective, you could be promising your audience one thing, but the code does something else. We made sure that aligns. And then had to work through some revisions with the team, which, by the way, we do with every single client. The best of the best. If there's no revisions, that's the bad sign. The fact that there are revisions means that we're working together and we're collaborating and just tweaking some things to the point where we're super confident. So we just went through the best process that we can with our team, and you're in a, obviously I'm restricted to say certain things from a third party perspective, but you're in a very good spot.
Yeah, no, we are. And just sharing that process as well, obviously, for us, when we've deployed a smart contract on a particular asset, I mean, it's deployed. So, given that we're in soft launch, when we then went through with the investment manager on one of the assets that we had deployed, and then there was some certain functionality that it then came about that they needed that extra functionality. It's not a matter of us just saying, here you go, we're going to modify something in the smart contract, and then, it's now fixed. So we had to modify, go back to audit, and then once it's cleared that audit process again, which is another week, 3-week process, even if it's something simple we've modified in the audit, it's chain reaction, right? So it can impact some of the other things that were already audited. So, some of our audits, I think on a couple of the chains, we had to redeploy twice and re-audit. And then obviously we had our bridge audit behind as well. There was some lines pointed out by the Hashlock team, some what if that was the case that our team had missed in some certain sections. And again, it's pushing our team to understand that we have to close those doors, because there can't be what ifs, because those what ifs are what can go wrong. Even though they were not, they're not harmful what ifs. They're just circumstances that need to be tighter, really, is what they are. So our bridge audit extended to 6 weeks. So it just shows you how much work just goes into a particular audit. It's not something that happens in a week. The teams really need to take that time to get it right. We've appreciated everything that the team has done. And as you said, I think both the teams have worked well. Our guys took on board. Sometimes the developers get a bit offended when the audit team says, what about this, and this? You didn't develop this right. But, thankfully everyone's working well together.
They are, and it's a typical clash, that the developer to auditors, but you've got to have it.
Yeah, absolutely. Now we're going to go to Q&As as well, Fletcher, so I hope you can hang around. So I'll just ask the audience, if you've got any questions, start popping them in the chat. I'm going to, while the audience is getting organised, I just want to pick your brain, if possible, for one last question from me. Where do you think are the biggest challenges for smart contract auditing in the next 3 to 5 years, excluding AI that we've already talked about? Where do you see you guys going in the next 3 to 5 years? Do you think you're going to be, double in size, triple in size, and what's your challenges there?
It's a good point. I hope that Hashlock continues to grow so that we can help more clients, and I hope that we're much bigger over the next 3 years. Like I said, we've done a lot in 3 years by doing good work and helping clients and caring about how we portray ourselves. And I hope that can continue. I think the challenges are really just adoption and external challenges. I think it's businesses like Black Tie that take Web3 to the masses, because you're not just using a Web3 tech, you're providing real value in the real world. So if that can continue to happen, then there'll be plenty of work for everyone in the blockchain space. So I think that's a challenge. I think bringing it to the masses. So we even try to do education and all those sorts of things to encourage people and to show them the value of the tech. And the other ones are just continuing to keep up with the quality of the vulnerabilities that are coming out and making sure that you have to be on the leading edge, because if you don't understand the leading edge attack vectors, then you can't do good audits because you're not future proofing. So the maintenance of quality is massively important, and the external factors are important. And if all those things are okay, then Hashlock should be in a really good spot.
That is awesome. So we've got some, not so much questions, but thank you. A lot of people obviously saying they're really appreciating how candid I think our chats have been and sharing, how we're all doing this together. So I'm always happy to hear that. I think we set out to be as transparent as we can. Things go wrong, but I think as long as you take them on the chin and explain why and learn from those mistakes, so one of our other projects, obviously we had an audit issue. We had to relaunch the whole project in full. So we learned from that, and that was part and parcel of choosing Hashlock as the audit partner as well. Because that's not something that we would want to repeat. I don't think we've got any other questions coming through. So that might be a bit of a wrap for us tonight, Fletcher. Once again, thanks so much for joining us. Thanks for taking the time out, because I know how busy you guys are.
Thank you so much for having me.
Really appreciate it.
Thank you, and it's awesome to be on here. And it was awesome chatting to you.
Well, we'll catch up, I'm sure, after some other audits, and feel free to drop in anytime you want to have a chat to our audience as well. And, just keep up with the space. You guys are doing an awesome job.
Will do. Appreciate it. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks. Bye.